Hello every-pony and welcome to Brony FanFics. Today, Crisis Equestria, Chapter 15. I'm far too enthusiastic for this, but that's fine. Okay, so last chapter, I think there was a bit of falling out between the main six. I think Rarity had a bit of an argument with Twilight and Applejack, and Lockwood was being a perv. But anyway, I did find that bit rather funny. But anyway, that's then, this is now, so let's get to reading. Crisis Equestria, Chapter 15, Innocence. Would you keep your voice down? This is completely necessary, and pouting about it isn't going to make any sort of difference. Starlight huffed. Havocwing grumbled. This is so stupid! Why are we wasting our time with this? Why are you making me waste my time with this? Again! Havocwing paced back and forth with an angry gait, threatening to wear out the rug at the foot of her bed. Starlight had insisted on meeting here, in her room of all places, and in the dead of night, when she was trying to get some sleep. And then Starlight had insisted they review her assignment, again. It seemed a total waste of time and effort. Havocwing hated a lot of things, but wasting time was amongst the greatest offenders. It was so far beyond aggravating that it was actually infuriating. She huffed and snorted and grumbled and rolled her eyes and just made such a complete showing of discontent that an average onlooker would have dropped the whole thing just to avoid a confrontation. But Starlight was undeterred by Havocwing's agitation and continued lecturing. The situation has become more complicated since we left the city, and I am inclined to ascertain your suitability to effectuate your orders. Havocwing started a good few moments, jaw agape and eyebrows raised. What? Ease up on big words, boss. She blinked. What does all that mean in plain pony speak? Starlight narrowed her eyes for a moment, then stuck her nose in the air in irritation. Let's see, how would you put it then? Ah yes, I want to make sure you don't screw up. Me? Havocwing blurted. I ain't gonna screw up squat, boss. You know damn well I'm the most reliable in the group. Starlight gave her a look of incredulity. I'm not good with these words either. Incredulity. But let her continue. Working that wuss over is going to be a piece of cake. What could be so different that we need to review? None of the others had to do this crap. Well, for one, I would theorize her opinion on things has perhaps adjusted in light of recent events. After all, she has met her very first gargantuan, and most ponies have a little change of heart on a great many things after their first encounter. Wouldn't you agree? Well, duh, I was gonna... But at the same time, another obstacle has placed itself in your path. That Lockwood fellow. His genial nature may have an influence upon that little cream puff of a Pegasus, and that could complicate matters. He is nothing if not unique amongst the general populace of Pandemonium, is he not? Yeah, I get it. So we have a little problem with the guy, Havocwing smirked. Want me to take care of him? I'd get a real kick out of it if you did. Oh, I've already thought of so many ways to do it, too. I could blow him up, or set him on fire, or let him burn to death. Oh, and let him burn to death. Or make sure I don't make it in time to save him from some mutant bug, or... What? No, you idiot. Starlight sighed with a hoof to her face. Just be cautious with your assignment, so long as he is present. I do not see it being complicated convincing that diminutive weakling that her compassion for nature is sorely misplaced. But this Lockwood, he will make matters difficult. Rarity, on the other hand, should not pose a threat. Or dear Insipid will see to that, I am certain. Right, whatever, ruin my fun. Havocwing shrugged. You know, this is probably the last chance you'll get to change your mind about my suggestion, boss. The joint's got a hell of a heating system. It's a real big boiler in the basement levels, hooked up to all sorts of things. It wouldn't be hard to overload it. See, I'll blow it all to pieces. It would make things real simple, yeah? I could even make it look like an accident, if you know what I mean. Dad wouldn't think. Starlight rolled her eyes. For the last time, Havocwing, we will utilize force only as a last resort, and lethal force is absolutely out of the question until Father is certain it is necessary. Whether you think Father will suspect anything is irrelevant. We're not going that route except in an emergency. Is that understood? Which is such a shame, since I bet those guys taste really good. Havocwing... Alright, that's... okay. Havocwing leapt several feet into the air at the sudden feeling of something cold probing her wings. Damn it, Red! Stop bucking doing that! One of these days I'm gonna... Red Velvet slid her way out of the shadows of the corner of the room, moving quite like a shadow herself. Entrails of blood retracted themselves back into her body. Their purpose in giving Havocwing a shock served. Her smug smile infuriated Havocwing. She had to fight hard in resisting the urge to throttle the pink pony. Hooves ablaze, until there was nothing left to strangle but a pile of ash. She snickered. Ah, don't be so jumpy, Havoc. You're not on the menu. Believe me, I've thought about it plenty of times. Since you're really lean and probably taste really good, but you'd probably give me a heartburn. Blech, no thanks. Yeah, well, you just stay the hell away from me, Havocwing spluttered. And what are you doing here anyway? I don't remember inviting you. Get out of my room. Hey, boss, Velvet saluted, ignoring Havocwing entirely. You called? I got a weird buzzy feeling in my head and stuff and figured it was you. You learned that trick from Daddy? Starlight nodded. You're early, Velvet. I was not expecting any ponies so soon. I was just finishing up with Havoc's assignment. Wait. You called her boss? Havocwing blurted. Oh, come on. I don't need this freak show in my room. Look, she's tracking blood everywhere. Ponies will think that I was up to something and they might get worried about being around me. And here I thought you'd want every pony to think you were a dangerous murdering sociopath, Velvet smirked. I understand if you need the boost to your ego, and I'd be happy to help. Not every pony can be as intimidating as me, you know. I don't need your help proving it, Havocwing spat. If you want to help, just stand still so I can cook you. Then we'll see who's the intimidating one is, you bucking nutcase. Ooh, I'm shaking in my horseshoes here, Velvet taunted, letting out a few strips of blood seep out, forming themselves into a variety of bladed and pointed objects. You're going to need more than threats if you want to scare me, Havoc. Speaking of cooking... Starlight grunted in annoyance and stamped a hoof. Enough, both of you! If you two wish to mutilate one another, it can wait until after we've completed the assignment at Hoof. Now, Velvet, I summoned you to deliver a status report. How fare you with Pinkie Pie? Velvet hesitated. Well, to be honest, not so swell. Starlight narrowed her eyes. How so? Your assignment is rather elementary. Velvet, Father did not foresee any difficulties, and neither have I. Is this Pinkie Pie giving you trouble? She's just impossible. Nothing I do frightens her for longer than a few seconds, and when it's all done, she laughs it off. I've never seen anything like it, boss. I can't work under these conditions. Maybe you're just not putting... Wait, who's saying? Maybe you're just not putting forth an adequate enough effort, Starlight hissed. Try harder. I will not have our well-laid plans ruined because you are getting sloppy. Sloppy? Oh, please. If I was allowed to be sloppy, we wouldn't have this problem, boss. Everything I'm doing would work on any pony else. They'd be wetting themselves at night for weeks, months. I mean, look, this stuff is no trouble giving even Havoc the heebie-jeebies. Havocwing made a protest but reconsidered it. Velvet was gazing at her with a very dark, very hungry look that sent chills down her spine and made her tuck in her wings out of concern for their well-being. Seeing no interjection from Havocwing, Velvet continued, "The pink putz must be immune or something. She's a little touched in the head, I think." "Sounds like you two were made for each other," Havocwing snickered. Velvet shot that same hungry look at her, making Havocwing shrink back a little. "What exactly is making this situation difficult for you? What are you doing that's not working?" Starlight demanded. Velvet rolled her eyes. "Well, for one, if I were allowed to use all my powers, you'd accomplish nothing save for abandoning a key element of surprise for any possible, though unlikely, future of confrontations. And if you did scare her in such a manner, she would most certainly alert the others to your doings and risk driving a decisive wedge between them and us, which would ruin all of our efforts. No, hemomancy, that's a new word. Deal with it. Have you tried? Look, boss, I've tried everything. I've tried everything I can think of, and I'm totally using the grade A material here too," Velvet defended. "Nothing's working. She thinks it's all some sort of game or something. Like, okay, see if you can visualize this for me. I hide up on the ceiling, you know, like above the door frame, and do the drippy blood bit where she looks up to see what it is, and boom, she sees a murdered pony just hanging there. She jumped away and everything, but the second she recognized it was me, she laughed it off and started babbling about a movie with aliens in it. She thinks my special talent is pranks. Pranks, boss! I even tried to do that dream trick, yeah?" "Dream trick?" Havocwing asked. "Yeah," Velvet grinned in a way that sent shivers through Havocwing's body. "You know, where I just pop into your head while you're asleep and give you nightmares? If I get a really good hold in there, anything I do to you in Dreamland happens to you in reality. It's so totally neat. Oh, listen to me, I'm babbling like insipid. I'm so excited." You can do that?" Havocwing gulped. "Boss, could she do that?" "If she can, it would be a surprise to me." Starlight tapped her hoof to her chin. It does sound quite effective, though." Oh, no way!" Havocwing nervously chuckled. "No way she can do that." "Good one, Red. You're just bucking with me." Velvet smirked rather wide, causing Havocwing to gulp, before shrugging and continuing on. "Anyway, that didn't work either. Her dreams have way too much sunshine and gumdrops and lollipops and, well, all that kind of happy, lovely, dovey stuff. So much of it. I bet it would make Havoc here just puke her guts out." Guts. She stopped a moment to lick her lips and make a pleasured noise that made Havocwing extremely uncomfortable, since it was her guts she was talking about. "That's how sickening it all is. Too much of it, boss. Like, I really, really would rather not go back in there, yeah?" Her tone became slightly nervous. It felt weird. Super weird. Like, I felt all that happiness and stuff was just going to swallow me up and never let me go. Freaky. Listen, maybe if I traded with Havocwing, her target should be so much easier to scare. "Hey, buck off, freak show," Havocwing blurted. "Dad gave this assignment to me. Just because you're losing your touch." "I don't want to hear any more excuses," Starlight interrupted firmly. "Red Velvet, you will reevaluate your situation immediately. If need be, elect a different approach and frighten that annoying joy out of the ridiculous mare, or you will soon find yourself trying to scare moon rocks from the remainder of your sad, pitiful little existence. Am I clear?" Boss! Am I clear?" Velvet nodded in defeat. "Crystal clear, boss." "There. Looks like we've got a new pony on the bottom of the totem pole," Havocwing snickered. Velvet shot her an angry look, but Havocwing was loaded with newfound confidence in light of Velvet's losing face. "How's it feel to replace Insipid down there, huh? I never thought any pony would make that airhead look good." I'd be glad to put you down on the bottom myself, Havoc," Velvet sneered. Dead ponies might not look so good to the boss, you know, since they're not going to do anything but sit there and rot. Ah, you're cute when you're angry. Havocwing snickered again. A knock at Havocwing's door shook the tension out of the air. Ah, now what? She groaned. She trotted over to the door and was generally surprised at who was on the other side. Grey? The hell are you doing up this late? What do you want? Grayscale had completely ignored Havocwing's presence entirely and instead looked around but behind her shoulder and saluted to Starlight, who nodded back and beckoned her into the room, with a simple tilt of her head. Grayscale shoved her way past Havocwing, who watched the bigger Pegasus with irritated disdain. Ah, right on schedule, Starlight smirked. I expected you to arrive late, as I have grown accustomed to. This is quite a surprise. You needed something, boss? Grayscale asked as she rubbed her eyes and yawned. You woke me up from my third nap. What's this all about? Father requested that I obtain a periodical status report from each of you. Seeing as how we've completed our first day of activity, I feel it would be wise to get some initial impressions, you understand? So then, how would you gauge your progress with Rainbow Dash, Grayscale? Can't this wait till morning? I was having the most wonderful dream about taking a nap on a cloud. Grayscale suddenly lost herself in thought. Jeez, boss, why'd you have to invite them all to my room? Havocwing huffed. I didn't need to attend any stupid meeting, and they all could have met in your room. I could be sleeping. Status report, please, Grayscale. Starlight interrupted. You can return to your little dreamland later. To be honest, there isn't much I really need to do to make this work. Rainbow Dash doesn't trust TikTok or Lockwood, and is pretty upset that her friends don't feel the same. She just needs a little push. Grayscale shrugged. Starlight nodded. Excellent. I am pleased that you are fulfilling Father's expectations so admirably. If everybody else could accomplish your results, and she shot a look at Velvet, who shrunk back in embarrassment, we would be finished with the next couple of days. I will admit, breaking apart these bonds of theirs is not proving a simple matter. Not that I am having any trouble, of course. Ah, speaking of which, that reminds me. I was taking a nap in the hall after dinner, and... You were taking a nap? In the hall? Havocwing interjected. What the hell is wrong with you? I know you like sleeping and stuff, but necrolepsy. And unlike some of us, Grayscale yawned, I know the importance of shutting up and listening. I could instruct you, but I doubt you'd listen. That's kind of the point, though, isn't it? I'll teach you how to shut up, Havocwing sneered beneath her breath, bucking Kissflank. As I was saying, Grayscale continued, it was right after dinner, and I saw Rarity waiting in the hall to use the washroom. Completely predictable. Curacao got there first, I guess. I never saw her walk in. I saw Applejack come up to talk to her about something, though. Unfortunately, I didn't hear too much. They were real quiet about it, but it must have been something important, and it looked like a pretty heated discussion. Any ideas? Starlight tapped her hoof, twitching. This might pose complications. Applejack is, according to her father, probably the most difficult mare in the group to persuade to our way of thinking. She's all about truth and honesty and all that ridiculous bunk. If I were to guess, she's likely good at spotting deceptions as well. That does sound more disconcerting, especially if she suspects us. Ooh, maybe Curaçao's having trouble too. Velvet suddenly perked up. Oh please, oh please, oh please. Being on the bottom stinks. So what you're saying is, Havocwing chortled, clapping her fists together, we may need to have some pony taken care of. Oh man, this is just too... Calm yourself, Havoc. Starlight rolled her eyes. It's much too soon to assume anything. I can only hope Curacao is handling the situation. So let's see what she has to report, She should be here by now. Curacao is normally very punctual. Grayscale, check the hall. Speak of the devil. Grayscale gestured. Starlight popped her head out into the hall with her and saw a very, very pleased Curacao, walking fancifully towards Havocwing's room, an energetic bounce in her step. The blue earth pony bounded in without so much as acknowledging any pony else at all. She ignored Starlight's greeting completely and instead plopped herself directly in front of the room's grooming mirror, and began combing and playing with her hair using the provided brush, humming a happy tune that was only slightly off-key. "What the—" Starlight muttered, more to herself than any pony else. "Why are you so perky this evening, Curacao?" Curacao ignored her again and just continued to groom and gaze at herself. "Curacao," Starlight coughed. "What in Equestria are you—" forget it. "I summoned you here to deliver a status report. Grayscale had made mention of something suspicious about Applejack, and I would wager that you would be able to entertain my curiosity?" Curacao continued to ignore her and carried on with fancying herself in the mirror. Starlight's eye twitched. "Curacao, what is wrong with you?" "What's up with her?" Havoc-Wing whispered to Velvet of all ponies. She's usually not so, weird." Velvet raised an eyebrow. "Yo, Miss Fancy Pants," Havoc-Wing blurted. "The boss is talking to you. Quit checking out your stupid mane, and it's already bucking perfect." "I know, right?" Curacao bubbled. "It's like totally silky smooth," and she noticed that every pony was looking at her with absolute and complete disbelief, and varying degrees of annoyance. "Oops." Starlight narrowed her eyes, and her horn began to shine a brilliant silver. The light bathed Curacao, and as it passed over her inch by inch, it stripped away the illusion and revealed the blue earth pony instead as insipid. Starlight huffed, not at all amused. Hi?" Insipid flustered, a supreme dejection in her voice as she looked at herself in the mirror. You caught me? Did you have to do that? I was checking out how totally super pretty I... Explain yourself, now. Where is Curacao?" Starlight demanded. "She told me not to tell," Insipid blurted defensively. "She said you'd all, totally ruin her plans if you knew. Oh, she's so sneaky. I am, so super glad she wanted my help and junk. This is major fresh, you know." Starlight groaned. "Please tell me you're... Oh, why do I even bother? It would be nonsensical to asking you. You likely haven't the foggiest idea what she's plotting anyway. And if Curacao is working, I highly doubt I'll get much out of her either. She does tend to keep it to herself, after all. How about you, then? Status report, Insipid? How fares your assignment with Rarity?" "Oh, she, totally made my hair all pretty and junk, see?" Insipid gushed, pointing at her hair. It was a little different, truth be told. The curls were a little curlier, and the straight bits were a little straighter. Not that did much to it. It would seem that even Rarity's expert touch could not make Insipid prettier, and it certainly was no match for the form of perfection that her false guise of Curacao had been. But to Insipid, it seemed that it was the thought that counted. It doesn't look any different to me," Havoc-Wing shrugged. "You still look like you brush your mane with a rake." Whatever," Insipid pouted. "Curie liked it, and that's, all that matters. She said it was très mignon. I totally don't even know what that means. But Curie said it, so it must be good, right?" Starlight held the bridge of her nose with her hoof. "Insipid. How can I make this simple enough for your primitive little brain to understand? I asked how your progress was going with turning Rarity around to our way of thinking. Not if you managed to get her to gussy you up." Oh, right. She's totally under my hoof. I think kinda figured out what she wants. And I'm totally working on getting her to go after it. That's what I was supposed to do, yeah? Right? Do you want to hear the details or something? Starlight rolled her eyes. I think I'd rather not listen to your brainless babble any longer. Very good, Insipid. Now then, I suppose that would just leave Curacao herself. Where is that devious little charlatan? It is most unlike her to be tardy. I bet she's just taking another bath. Havoc Wing suggested, half seriously. Can't have too many baths when you're otherwise useless to us. So you may as well make yourself look pretty, right? Not that she ever gets her hoofs dirty anyway. Hey, like, that perfection of hers takes diligence, Insipid pointed. That's what, like, Rarity said anyway, and she's totally, you know, in the know. I mean, like, hello! You can't look perfect like Curie does without, you know, a little effort and junk. I don't think she spends any time doing anything to it. Grayscale has started, matter-of-factly. I mean, she can change shape, so she's probably able to look however she wants without actually doing much. Like, oh my stars, you can't be, like, serious? Insipid blanched. She totally puts effort in, because, like, otherwise, what's the point? If she was, like, cheating, it would be so major. Unfresh, totally not funny. Great, totally not funny. Grayscale shrugged. No, you're right. Because Curacao couldn't possibly be cheating. Insipid nodded in agreement, completely oblivious to Grayscale's sarcasm. Havocwing blurted, I don't care how long she spends or how much effort she takes. The fact is, she doesn't do squat otherwise. None of us other than you have seen her all day, and you're such a moron you probably just served her patsy so you could go off and not do anything all night. If she spent as much time doing a job as she does looking pretty, she spat, we'd all be done by now. She'd probably done all our jobs for us. What kind of jobs y'all talking about? Everybody turned rapidly to the sudden new voice. Insipid, whose back was to the door, did so too fast and tumbled face first to the floor. Applejack stood defensively in the hallway, an aggressive glare on her face that made her look more than a little upset. Ah, crap. Havocwing blurted. Hey there, Applejack. How long have you been there? Long enough. Applejack frowned, taking a new defensive step back. What did you hear? Starlight asked sternly, stepping out into the hall with Havocwing at her side. I heard everything. Applejack admitted firmly, stepping further back down the hall to relative safety. Her eyes carefully flickered to the stairs to judge the distance she'd need to go to escape. I knew it. TikTok was right. You're all up to something fishy. I'm getting Twilight, then we'll see what she... Starlight's horn flashed, and Applejack, who tried bounding to the stairs at that instant, found herself bound rather awkwardly in magical chains that had appeared from the floor, trapping her just a scant few feet from the stairs that led to the next floor and her friends, which, given the circumstances, was much too far. She squirmed and fought to free herself, but the chains tightened with every attempt until she could barely move at all. She was caught. Let me go, you sneaky... Most unfortunate, Starlight frowned. I was hoping to have longer. Seems my suspicions were accurate. Boss, she heard way too much, Havocwing observed. We can't just let her go. Quite. Starlight smirked. Let's see, what should we... Insipid had gotten up by now and joined them all in the hall. Her eyes brightened immensely with a great leap all the way across the great distance from Havocwing's door. She bounded to Applejack with such an amazingly elated air that every pony in the vicinity could feel her sudden and very much boundless excitement. It was almost sickening, and it actually made Velvet shirk away into the corner for fear she'd lose her lunch all over Havocwing's floor. Insipid, what the... Havocwing started, her voice filled with rage. What in tarnation y'all doing? Applejack blurted, and Insipid wrapped her up in a tight hug. She struggled hard against the chains that kept her bound, more desperate now than ever to get away. Call her off! Y'all don't need to torture me. I promise I won't talk. Just get off! Ah, it's so, like, totally super cute when you're trying to be sneaky, Insipid cooed, nuzzling her cheek against Applejack's. You can't fool me though, Curie. You smell like oranges. Applejack grumbled and then melted away, hat and all, into his familiar blue form of Curacao. Merde, this is why I had to be careful, voyez-vous? You may have blown my cover, ma bête compine. Curacao, what in Equestria? Starlight blinked as she released her spell. Not that it would help Curacao get off the floor. Not so long as Insipid bound her even more tightly than the chains had been. Grayskull nodded to herself. Saw that coming. Hee I totally told you she was good, Insipid beamed, stroking Curacao's mane with loving adoration. She even fooled you, boss, how totally cool is that? Yes, quite, Starlight said with disdain. I suppose, then, that you should be lucky Insipid asserted the truth before I vaporized you, Curacao. I don't much appreciate being duped. Accidents happen. Insipid's face suddenly turned to panic. Oh, you weren't really going to vaporize her, right, boss? Not my Curie, no. Do not fear, ma compine. The Capitan would not have killed Applejack, no matter how much she knew. I was always in control. Curacao smirked. Je m'excuse, ma Capitan. I had to make sure that my plan had gone flawlessly, no? If even you could not spot the ruse, then I should say my disguise is perfect enough to escape even magical detection. Why, even when ma copine uses it. You could not tell the difference, oui? Starlight bit her tongue, unnerved at Curacao's smug pride, but impressed all the same. Curacao bore a confident grin that had Insipid proud to just be nearby. Do not worry about my status report. I assure you that it will not be long before the Applejack falls far from the tree, no? Ah, she's so clever! Insipid bubbled. I bet it's the perfect plan. What manner of plot are you scheming? Starlight pressed. The others are all simple enough in concept, so much so that I've been able to ascertain what was required of them and advised them from there without any further guidance from Father. Your quarry, though, even Father didn't. Never inquietes, pa. I have it all under control. With my genie, this Applejack and this rarity, they are formed on Leon, oui? And when that crashes down around ma petite pomme, Victoire, she gave a vain, open-mouthed laugh, quite pleased at the prospect and of the brilliant extent of her plan. Had she not needed to be quiet, it might have been rather loud indeed. It left a few of the others a little concerned, though Insipid just drank it in with a huge grin on her face. So what was... so that was you in the hall. Grayskull nodded in understanding. Let me guess, you were Applejack herself, then? Oh la la, un magician never reveals our secrets, no? Curacao grinned. It would ruin the illusion. I love it when she gets all, devious. Insipid bubbled. Oh, Curie, you're such a totally amazing actress. So major fresh. Humph. I suppose we all have... He's saying at the start, right. I suppose we have all settled matters from now, then? I am most pleased with some of your reports, while others still have a great deal to be decided, Starlight declared, Velvet visibly shrinking back again at another back-hoofed commentary on her progress. Morning approaches. There is much work ahead of us, and if we are to continue our rate of success without incident, continue on as you have been. Draw your marks aside and engage them on a personal level, and leave matters to me to direct the traffic, as it were. Dismissed. Starlight was the first to leave the room, her horn flashing a brilliant silver as she teleported instantly to another location, leaving the others to shield their eyes from the bright flash. About time, Havoc yawned. Okay, every pony, you heard the boss. You're all dismissed. That means get the hell out of my room, now! Ah, sweet dreams, Havoc. Velvet cooed as she trotted with a carefree demeanour out of the door. Previous incidents behind her and forgotten. Oh, and don't let the beg buds bite, okay? I hear the ones out here are pretty vicious. But hey, maybe you'll dream about me. Her grin widened and her teeth appeared pointed and fierce. Be careful, though. I bite harder than bedbugs do. Havokwing paled slightly, but maintained her composure, though it wasn't going to scare her anymore, not so long as she was the weakest link in the chain. "Oh, Curie," Insipid pouted, throwing herself at Kurosawa's hooves and making a pleading gesture. "Please, can I share a room with you? I'm not even next door to you. That dumb old pewter guy put me, on the other end of the hall. I'm so totally lonely." And that is so totally major uncool, très bad. I mean, how do you say it, Curie? "Mauvais," Kurosawa said flatly. "Movie? Curie, we don't have time for a movie." Insipid playfully rolled her eyes. "Murder law," Kurosawa quite seriously rolled her eyes in return. "You can sleep on the floor if you—" "Yay!" Insipid cheered as she bounded around the corner. "This is totally awesome. I can't wait. I get to, sleep where your hooves have been. Whee!" Kurosawa and Grayscale were the last to leave and walked down the hall together, unperturbed by Havokwing slamming the door behind them. The tense air between them belied a true camaraderie between the pair, who nodded at one another with a firm understanding. Grayscale chuckled. "Not that I care, Kurosawa, but how'd you put up with it? Insipid, I mean." Kurosawa shrugged. "She is a useful pawn. I cannot object to having my own pet unicorn. They are so useful for things that we earth ponies cannot do with just hooves. We? I suppose she completely broke character as you," Grayscale pointed. "Maybe you should have given her acting lessons." Okay, I've lost my... Okay. It was Kurosawa's turn to chuckle. "It is quite unlike you, Grayscale. Worries that I may have my hooves full." "Hey, whatever floats your cloud," Grayscale yawned. "Oh, and by the way, you were Applejack in the hallway after dinner, weren't you?" "I told you." Grayscale put her hoof up. "Cut the crap. You were Applejack in the hall, not Rarity." Kurosawa smirked. "Perhaps I was. Why, may I ask, do you care? It's not like you—" "I'm just trying to make sure I keep up. If I'm out of the loop, that means I have to act on impulse and when ponies act on impulse, they work harder and make dumb decisions. You feel me?" Kurosawa laughed. Do as you wish, Grayscale. I've lost my way again. God damn it. Okay, here we are. "Do as you wish, Grayscale, as long as you do not interfere with my own plans. I suppose it will do no harm. I will leave it to you to figure out the truth of my magnifique representation. But not only because you are one who would truly appreciate it, we?" "Yeah, whatever," Grayscale shrugged. "I know I'm right. You can play it off as long as you want for all I care. I'm off to bed. Hey, by the way, I just hope your new pet is housebroken." "Do you really have to go so soon?" Peter asked with a depressed sigh. "You only just got here. I was hoping for a chance to catch up, TikTok." "I'm sorry, Peter. I really am. But we're on a very tight schedule and we have little choice. We've got another week, and then some, just to get to Hope's Point, and I need to account for any other delays. We cannot risk losing much more time." TikTok busied herself with sorting and checking supplies. Peter graciously provided them with as much as he could spare, which included a small supply of food rations, canteens of actual water, and other survival equipment. Applejack was nearby, helping over the checklist, though TikTok noted she was extra professional about it and barely said 2 words to the others helping to pack everything together. TikTok herself, or Flathoof, but made a very strange exception for Kurosawa, who was teaching her to use more advanced features of TikTok's map. TikTok was rather surprised the Blue Earth Pony was so adept in using a magical object, and even more surprised she could even work it properly, not having magic herself. She attributed it perhaps to Kurosawa's travels with Starlight Shadow, who was nothing if not imposing, probably insisted on having a solid guide so she didn't have to look at a map herself. It was a rather average morning outside the checkpoint, cold and crisp and as dark as usual, with nothing out of the ordinary to cause the travellers any worries. Twilight and Rarity were taking time to use some of their old clothes to make a sort of carrying harness to make supporting Fluttershy easier. Some, of course, being Pinky's hat, Fluttershy's dress, and Twilight's cape, as these were all superfluous? Combined with some blankets given to them by Pewter. Rarity's clothes, of course, she had insisted on getting repaired, quite unlike the others. Her dress, which was now clean and tidy, and had all the damage from the heat and dirt and wind repaired. Fluttershy, meanwhile, was taking quite well to Lockwood's jacket, and many suggestions had been made to let her keep it for the remainder of their travel, which brought no objection from the Pegasus stallion in question. If anything, he seemed actually pleased at the prospect, and took upon the task of cleaning the jacket himself, at Rarity's insistence, of course. Starlight assisted the pair with directions and instructions, but did not bother utilising any magic of her own. Certainly not when she could direct Insipid to do it just as well, despite the other unicorn's much lower aptitude. When completed, 2 ponies, Rarity and Lockwood, the most likely volunteers, would be able to carry the still very weak and limp Fluttershy between them on what essentially amounted to a cot, making it easy for her to get as much rest as possible without slowing down the group any. Rainbow and Grayscale talked with one another far overhead, mostly in whispers and with several occasional gestures in Lockwood's direction, as he was the only one currently watching over Fluttershy, who slept quite soundly, wrapped in his now clean jacket, close enough to be watched, but not close enough to be woken by any of the myriad of conversations going on around her. Having wing to only Grayscale's notice, was keeping a distance for now and simply observing, much to Grayscale's pleasant surprise, that Havoc Wing had even skipped breakfast and was of particular interest. What sort of game was she playing at? Grayscale wondered. Velvet and Pinky, on the other hoof, were busy chatting up a storm and bouncing between the other groups with rather reckless abandon. Pinky's boundless energy was keeping all of her friends' spirits up, but Velvet was visibly exhausted by the ordeal, a quality that did not go unnoticed by her companions. Occasional sideways glances from Starlight made Velvet consistently work to stay close to Pinky, ignoring her own exhaustion and trying her best to keep up. "I still say you have enough time to stay another night," Pewter smirked. "You even mentioned that your little accident in Redblade bought you an extra day taking this route. Why not spend it here recuperating? Fluttershy could certainly benefit the most from it, and as tempting as that all sounds, I'm afraid I must decline." TikTok frowned. "I really wish I could, but business is business." "And business before pleasure, I know. You always say that." Pewter sighed. "A guy like me just can't catch a break, huh? Well then, I wish the best of luck. Is there anything else you think you'll need? I still have some spare supplies here and there. I think I got together everything you'll need, but just in case?" "I didn't think we need much else, at least not that I can think of." TikTok shook her head. "How about you, Applejack?" "Yeah," Applejack replied curtly, having ignored TikTok until now. "Peter wants to know if there's anything we're missing that you think we might need." "Nah, we're fine. We're fine enough for a week-long trip, I reckon. Plenty of food and water. Real food and water at that. Some traveling necessities like rope and whatnot, new saddlebags and sleeping bags and such. Nope, I don't think there's much else we could need." "Well then, there you have it. I think we're all settled up and ready to move out." TikTok nodded. She moved in close enough to whisper, "Thanks again, Pewter, for all of this. For last night, for everything. You truly are too kind to me. Whatever would I do without you? You'd be a week away from Hope's Point with nothing but a wing and a prayer to get you there, that's what." Pewter smirked. But all the same, helping folks like you all get from the city to the coast is just in the blood. Don't be a stranger, TikTok, and do take care of yourself. You don't have any idea what I'd do if something happened to... You worry too much. I'll be fine, Pewter. I always have been. You do the same, yeah?" After every pony had gotten everything settled and taken care of, it was time to leave the cozy little checkpoint and venture forth into the unknown once again. They bid their farewells to Peter and started their way up the trail leading up into the mountains of Goldridge Pass. It was clear from up close, even more so than from a great distance they'd observed from the day before, the mountain got their name. Brilliant gold as far as they could see, and most definitely further beyond. So glorious in sheen and lustre that if it weren't for the massive shroud of magic blocking the sun, the entire mountain range would be able to shine for miles and miles in all directions. A beacon of hope and solace to ponies making the long journey to the coast. Rarity's keen eye for precious metals and stones alerted her to the fact that it wasn't just colour, either. Every rock and boulder, every tree and bush, and even every single tiny speck of dirt they walked upon appeared to be made of solid, unblemished gold. Rarity requested the group stop rather suddenly at one junction several hours into their walk, apparently distracted by something particularly outstanding, particularly amazing, particularly wondrous, at least, of course to her. "Oh my!" Rarity gasped, her eyes filled with a bedazzled splendour as she looked upon a massive boulder that towered above the group by several feet, easily as large as a very small house, just like the rest of the surrounding area. And this huge rock was more than that. It was made of solid gold, and of a most impeccable quality. She fanned herself gingerly a moment, clearly struck in awe at the sight of the thing. "Oh my, my, my! Magnificent! Beautiful! This is simply incredible!" "It is?" Insipid beamed. "Oh, well, like, maybe we could, figure something out. Divvy it up between us and junk. I totally call the biggest piece." "Here we go." Havoc re-rolled her eyes. Rarity continued her fawning with unabashed shamelessness. "I've never seen gold of such high quality, and certainly not in this grade of concentration. This is a find of the century, no, the millennium. Girls, do you have any idea how this absolute gorgeous hunk of gold is worth?" "No, but I suppose you're going to tell us," Rainbow Dash sighed. "It's worth squat, I don't know, maybe a few dozen bits just for the size," TikTok stated rather flatly. "Gold is practically worthless in Pandemonium. Precisely thanks to these bloody mountains. The whole northern of half Goldridge is still being mined out for materials simply because gold is a good electrical conductor, nothing more. Ruined the whole bleeding value of bits is what it did. Completely bugged up the economy because, some few centuries back. If it weren't so plentiful, maybe it would still be worth something, but..." "Well, of course I didn't mean in Pandemonium, darling." Rarity rolled her eyes. "Heavens, why in Equestria when Excuse me. Heavens, why in Equestria would I want to go back there to barter it? I meant back home in Utopia. This thing would be worth an absolute fortune. Enough to buy a mansion on the beautiful coastline, I'd wager. Custom built, and..." Rarity was all but drooling now. "Oh, and with all the amenities a pony with real class and sophistication could possibly hope for, and then some. Oh my, this would make the homes of the rich and famous look like shacks. I bet I could live even more lavishly than if I were resident of the royal palace itself. Gracious, it is awfully tempting to find some way to..." "Oh no," Twilight said quickly. No. I'm not lugging around a giant rock again just because you think it's valuable, Rarity. We don't have time for more window shopping. Can we just... Oh, please, darling, this delectable hunk of splendid metal is very, very real. I just think of the possibilities." Insipid bounced. Yeah. Oh, we could make, golden tiaras and junk. I bet I look super pretty in, a little golden tiara. Pardon me. Can we have her... Can we? Ha. Prettiest pleases? I'd be like little princess. Applejack smirked and prodded Rarity playfully in the side. "What would this one's name be, Rarity? Dan, maybe? 'Cause..." Rarity narrowed her eyes. "Yes, well, let's just drop it then, shall we?" "Gold a très mediocre anyway," Curacao said with a little laugh. "Surely you would prefer diamond, or perhaps platinum? Much more exquisite material, no?" Insipid's flightiness calmed down instantly, and she stuck her nose up in the air. Yeah, like, gold totally sucks. I mean, what were you thinking there, Rarity? Like, gag me with a spoon? What kind of dumb idea was gold tiaras anyway? It's so tacky. Gold? Tacky? Perish the thought! Rarity flustered. Maybe where you come from, darling, but I thought y'all said y'all gonna drop it. Applejack rolled her eyes. Rarity looked mournfully at the giant golden rock and sighed, and rejoined the rest of the group before they got too far ahead. Lockwood, still rather attached to Rarity in the chain, with Fluttershy between them, was rather glad she did, as he didn't want to fall much behind either. The path twisted and winded through the mountains for miles, and for once Twilight and her friends were able to relax along their route, relatively speaking. The Goldridge Pass trail was smooth and easy to travel, without many steep climbs or harrowing cliffs as their chosen route in Redblade had been, nor were they laden or with other dangers like the heat or magma or anything of the sort. This allowed them to occasionally gallop along flat strips or to avoid climbing to take easier paths that they could run along, saving time at each and every junction they came to. Minutes rolled on into hours and more hours, but before long, sometime close to the early evening on the first day, they finally reached the crest of the first peak, allowing them to look over the wasteland in the west for a great distance. This would be their designated rest stop, not an undesignated one caused by a white unicorn fawning over a rock, allowing everybody to set aside their saddlebags and rest their hooves before they moved forward again to the campsite for their first night. Only a few hours away and nestled nicely in a protected area between the first two peaks, they'd made exceptional time getting here despite Rarity's delay. Easily a few hours ahead of schedule. At this rate, TikTok posited, they'd be through the entirety of Goldridge in a scant 3 days, rather than previously stated 4. Things were finally starting to look up. Twilight moved forward a little ways to climb up to the highest point of the peak, where she could see further along the trail. She brought along with her the travelling party's focus group, as she called it, though Starlight had been rather keen on the name War Council. Twilight, TikTok, Applejack, Starlight, and Curacao formed the group, and together they would look over the trail again with TikTok's handy map as their guide. TikTok was rather annoyed that they had to keep reviewing their route, insistent that the path was unchanging and very straightforward. But Twilight asserted, with agreement from Applejack, that no small amount of prodding from Starlight that she'd fallen for TikTok's overconfidence once before and wasn't about to do that again. TikTok grumbled and followed them over, mumbling to herself about never going to bloody live it down. As for the others, they'd all sort of managed to find themselves little niches by now that they could fill and fill right. Applejack, of course, filled in the much-needed role as Twilight's second-in-command of sorts, taking a keen, level-headed, practical approach that meshed well with Twilight's informative perusal of facts and data to give them a rather effective combination, not quite unlike the one shared by Starlight and Curacao. It did not go unnoticed, however, that Applejack was taking the role rather seriously, and was learning the lay of the land very quickly, to the point that TikTok was feeling less and less important, especially with Twilight having the predisposition to listen to Applejack over her. Rainbow, on the other hand, felt more natural as her group's scout than as a co-lieutenant of Twilight's, taking on the example set by Grayscale, who was cool enough to show her how to be a superb tracker. As the smaller Pegasus had always been one for thinking fast and acting fast rather than taking the time to examine things, Rainbow was rather confused about Grayscale's lackadaisical methodology. Don't get me wrong, Rainbow had said. I love napping on clouds and all that, but I don't see how it's going to help me keeping an eye on my friends. And decided herself to be more diligent with her duties when it came down to it. But was thankful to have the advice, and she was also glad she had one advantage that helped in scouting this high up that Grayscale lacked: the flight goggles that Peter had graciously repaired that she had found using more for protecting her eyes from the fierce winds and cold as the pair climbed higher and higher into the sky to observe. Wow, Rainbow Dash gasped as they looked out into the distance over the entirety of Goldridge Pass. That's a big mountain range. A few days of walking gets the average pony across, Grayskull explained. Us flyers, though, we can do it in half that. I bet I can get over in one, Rainbow boasted. Fastest flyer in all of Equestria, you know. If I didn't have to keep together with my friends, I bet I'd already be in Utopia. Piece of cake. Pretty cool being fast and all, Grayskull nodded. Shame your friends can't fly. Then maybe they wouldn't be slowing you down. Right, slow me down. Oh hey! Rainbow pointed. What's with that big valley in the middle there? Her hoof was directed at a very large break in the mountains that was covered in green. From here she could spot smatterings of what looked like buildings that jutted up through the earth beneath them, quite uncharacteristically of any buildings she'd ever seen, in fact. Ruins of the Griffin Kingdom, Grayskull nodded. Not much else to it other than that. No pony goes there. They scared of it or something? I guess, Grayskull shrugged. Not my problem. I don't care about exploring and stuff. Anyway, enough of that stuff. We gotta work on your observation techniques. Pull up a cloud. Even though Grayskull's methods were perplexing to her, she didn't mind. He gave her some pony to talk to that truly understood what was going on and was sympathetic to her problems. She couldn't talk about how Lockwood was still bothersome to her. Oh, she could talk about how Lockwood was still bothersome to her, now more so than ever thanks to the bond she was forming with Fluttershy. He was forming with Fluttershy. She could talk about how she didn't like that TikTok was still somehow a part of Twilight's inner circle, and that she herself felt like she was being pushed out of it. It felt good to get these thoughts off her chest with some pony that she could trust not to say anything to any pony. And better yet, wouldn't insist on keeping up a false face of acceptance. Most of all, Pinkie Pie still didn't see any problem with either of the two, and Rainbow Dash didn't like that. She had little choice to divert her time from her best friend, to try and keep her mind on the journey and on getting home, even if that meant for now leaving Pinkie's side. And besides, Pinkie Pie was always busy trying out new things with that new friend of hers. Why shouldn't Rainbow Dash do the same with some pony she felt a connection with? Pinkie, of course, was abundantly energetic and over-enthusiastic to the point of utter ridiculousness. With Velvet's help, the two had gotten a chance to try out some new baking recipes earlier that morning before every pony left. And now we're taking the time to get every pony that they could get their hooves on to try some samples. Pinkie was growing more and more ecstatic with every pleased response, and was more eager now to get home than ever. Peter had, at her asking, provided them with a great many seed pouches for all the different fruits that were native in the northern continent and unique to this world. Magma berries besides, which since they had already had those, but also golden figs and dragon hearts, which were not at all what Velvet thought they were, to her incredibly massive disappointment. And all sorts of other things like magma berries were magical fruits with very unique qualities that Pinkie was eagerly awaiting discovering the great many possibilities of. She was absolutely, positively certain when she brought them home and asked Applejack to help her start a crop, they could turn her from a baking master with no recognition into a baking paragon with worldwide notoriety. Velvet was, on the other hand, becoming less and less enthused as the minutes passed, growing visibly tired and clearly... I've lost my way. Becoming less enthused and clearly unable to keep up with Pinkie's boundless energy and excitement. She was genuinely worried. Why was it that simply being around all that happiness and joy made her feel weak? As the second day of travel rolled on and on, Fluttershy woke with a tiny yawn that did not alert any pony to her, allowing a reprieve and the chance to become aware of her changing surroundings. She swayed gently upon the cot harness between Lockwood and, not Rarity, but Havocwing. Fluttershy was a little confused at this. She looked around to see where Rarity had gotten to, and caught sight of her up ahead, chatting with Flathoof about something. Fluttershy had noticed that lately. Applejack had not been talking as much with the stallion and kept more to herself than any pony, mostly only talking with Twilight Sparkle and about the path ahead. Perhaps that had something to do with Rarity talking to him. It would certainly explain why Havocwing was the other pony carrying her. She shied away for a moment, hoping that no pony would notice. It wasn't so much that she didn't like Havocwing, she just couldn't really truly dislike any pony, in her opinion. However, Havocwing was making that difficult. She almost did not awake at all on the first day of travel, aside from the early morning, where they prepped her for transport, and apart from meagre moments where she did not disturb any pony and therefore go right back to sleep moments later, she may as well have been asleep the entire day. She finally woke up for the second time, very, very late that night, alerted to the presence of other ponies, as she heard Pinky's babbling and bubbling over this pie and that quiche and these croissants, and so on and so forth. As the excitable pink pony was still passing around samples of trees she'd made long after Velvet collapsed of exhaustion hours earlier. They had arrived at the campsite now, and were truly winding away hours before getting to sleep for the night to rest for the next day of travel. Rarity grinned broadly as Fluttershy's eyes fluttered open, her own sleepiness washing away in an instant. "Ah, Fluttershy, darling, you're awake." Rarity nodded. "Are you feeling okay? Are you hungry?" "Oh, good morning, Rarity." Fluttershy yawned. "Good night, actually. And just in time, too. I was getting ready to doze off myself, to tell the truth." Rarity smiled. "You certainly are a very sound sleeper, my dear. Perhaps you enjoyed the gentle rocking of being carried between Mr. Lockwood and myself." "Why, that is just the most adorable thing." Oh dear, I've been asleep for that long?" Fluttershy blushed. "I don't usually sleep in—" "It's quite alright, sweetie. Don't be ashamed," Rarity cooed. "You need all the rest you can get. You do seem to be looking better. The colour is coming back to your face again. Don't quite look as flushed or clammy. Is there anything I can get you?" "Oh, no, I'm fine, Rarity." Fluttershy peeped. "Where's Lockwood?" "Ah, Mr. Lockwood is having a little chat over there." And she pointed a ways from the campsite to where the two stallions were having a hushed discussion. "I must thank Mr. Flathoof for pulling him away for a moment. I don't feel I get enough time to myself with you, darling." "Oh, what are you talking about?" Fluttershy raised an eyebrow. "Well, I don't know for certain, of course, but I do have my theories. If I were to venture a guess," and she looked around to make sure no pony could hear her before leaning in a whisper, "I'd say it has something to do with Applejack. I've noticed the poor dear has been rather overzealous in distancing herself from him." "Oh," Fluttershy frowned. "Why would she—" Nothing more on the subject. Private matters are private matters, and it wouldn't do to pry into another pony's personal life, would it? Most unladylike." Fluttershy nodded in agreement. "Where are we?" she asked. "The second crest along the trail, somewhere midway between the first two peaks of the ridge," Rarity said, simply as if citing directions from a book. More accurately, probably exactly as they'd been described to her by Twilight. "Miss TikTok says that we've been making incredibly good time despite having such a full group. I think she'd expected all the commotion to slow every pony down. Oh, speaking of which, there's some pony I most definitely want you to meet." "Oh, but I already met all those new ponies," Fluttershy flustered. I see, their names were Starlight, Shadow, and Yes, darling, I know you met all of them already, but not this one. The pony wasn't there at breakfast, to my sincere disappointment. Rarity pouted. I did so want you to meet her earlier, but this seems as perfect an opportunity as any, seeing as she's still awake. Thank goodness. She's just the most marvellous little Pegasus, and was most helpful in keeping your condition stable yesterday. After your encounter with that monster, that animal, Fluttershy corrected. Rarity didn't seem to notice. Rarity loosened herself from the harness and trotted over to the central hub of the rest of the group, and began avidly talking with the red Pegasus that Fluttershy admitted she didn't recognise. After a moment or two, Rarity returned with the Pegasus in tow, the pair chatting with excitement. Fluttershy was sort of intimidated by the new pony. She was lean muscled, appearing every bit as if she was built for heavy athletics. Not quite as purely built as like Grayscale Force was, but more like more lithe like Rainbow Dash, though with a certain sense of muscle and power over aerodynamics and speed. For sure, though, she was definitely not at all a dainty little thing like she herself was, or refined and classy like Rarity. It perplexed Fluttershy how they'd hit off so well. Fluttershy, darling, I'd like you to meet Miss Havocwing, Rarity said with a smile. Miss Havocwing, this is my darling friend Fluttershy. Hey, Havocwing said simply. Oh, hello? Fluttershy nodded. Miss Havocwing, Miss Havocwing here is one of... Havocwing here is the one that made us just the most cozy little campfire the other night when you needed to keep warm. TikTok and Peter both agreed that the gesture had likely contributed a lot to your well-being, and will likely aid to your speedy recovery as well. So I suppose in a way you could probably say that Miss Havocwing is partly responsible for saving your life. Well, that explained it, Fluttershy thought. It made sense that Rarity would treat some pony that had gone to such an amazing length to keep her safe and keep her, well, such an amiable disposition. No need to go that far, Havocwing shrugged. I don't like being flattered too much with all that sappy stuff. It's really not my style, you understand? Well, thank you anyway, Miss... Fluttershy peeped. Don't mention it. Havocwing rolled her eyes. No, really, don't mention it. The others might think I'm going soft. See, I can't afford that kind of hit to my reputation. Reputation? Fluttershy nervously raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I'm my group's heavy hitter, you know, Havocwing boasted, pounding her chest with a metal-clad hoof. Out here, every travelling party needs some pony with guts. That's me. Gutsiest Pegasus alive. Fluttershy couldn't tell if she should be impressed or worried, or perhaps both. And she made quite an impressive show of handling one of those foul creatures, and a particularly large one as well. Rarity nodded with appreciation. She didn't just save you, darling. She played a part in rescuing all of us. Normally, I'm not such a proponent for violence, but I should think that sometimes the situation calls for a little less refined tactics. A familiar black and yellow-silver blur sided up to Rarity in a flash, making the white unicorn instantly put a hoof to her face. The presence of insipid, utterly impossible to miss, or worse yet, ignore. Hey, Rarity, could I talk to you? I need some more, advice on keeping my totally super fresh look. Totally super fresh? I mean, I can't really be, expected to do it all myself, but gag, no thank you. Rarity put her hoof up to stop her from continuing. Yes, alright, insipid darling, I'll be right with you in a minute. Just let me finish up over here for a moment, will you? Insipid squealed in delight and bounded away with joy, leaving a very exacerbated Rarity behind. Forgive me, Fluttershy, dear, but that poor mare has requisitioned my services as a stylist, it would seem. You could possibly tell that she is in dire need of a little work, yes? Heavens, the poor dear's mane. It's like she brushes it with a rake. Havitwing sniggered lightly, but flustered a bit when she realised it had been a bit out loud. Will you be okay? Will you be okay if I go help her with this for just a teensy moment? I promise it won't be long. Oh, but I do hate to leave you alone. Oh, no, that's okay. If you want to help her, Fluttershy peeped. That's just what you do. Hey, I'll stick around if you want, Havitwing shrugged. It would all get me away from all the noise back there. Ugh, I can't stand another minute of listening to that pink screwball friend of yours. No offence. None taken, darling. Pinkie Pie can be very, excitable. Poor dear doesn't realise that not every pony can keep up with her. Oh, but where are my manners? You said you would be willing to help Fluttershy company for a moment. Rarity beamed. Oh, thank you, Miss Havitwing. That means a lot to me. I'm sure Fluttershy would like to get to know you better as well, wouldn't she, darling? Oh, sure. Fluttershy nodded. I'm sure we'll get along just fine. Oh, I bet. Havitwing smirked. I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, sweetheart. Rarity smiled as she helped tuck Lockwood's jacket around the yellow Pegasus more snugly. Fluttershy always enjoyed Rarity's choice of animal metaphors. It helped put her at ease. Rarity rolled her eyes and grinned playfully, assuming, of course, that dear Insipid's mane cooperates. Oh heavens, her hair just is not at all easy to work with. So many knots and tangles and split ends, oh, the poor dear would drive stylists at home to weeping. Of that I'm certain. Oh, but listen to me, I'm going on about her behind her back like this. I really do sound like a hairstylist, don't I? Turning to Havitwing, Rarity continued, do take care of her, will you? The poor dear is very sensitive, you understand, and very important to me. Very important. Understand? I swear, how hard could it be? Ain't like there's anything in these mountains to worry about anyway. You guys sure picked the boring way to the coast, Havitwing shrugged. Rarity waved a brief farewell to Fluttershy and trotted away, leaving the 2 Pegasi behind. A few moments of silence passed. Fluttershy was rather glad for it and began to doze off again almost instantly. Still very much tired and achy. That was until Havitwing broke the silence with a cough. So, hey, she started. Fluttershy visibly jumped at the sudden noise, clearly not expecting any conversation to actually take place. Whoa now, no need to get jumpy. Yeah, how are you feeling? I've lost my way. God damn it. I hate the scrolling on my laptop. I think... There we go. Hey, how are you feeling? Oh, well, I still feel a little weak, Fluttershy admitted meekly, but at least I don't feel any pain anymore. Getting the feeling back in your wings yet? Havitwing asked. Her teeth grit together, but this went unnoticed. Yes, actually. Fluttershy nodded. She tried to flex her wings a little, but the jacket made that difficult to do. Oh dear, the jacket's too tight. Here, let me. Havitwing offered. She leaned in and loosened the jacket enough that Fluttershy could feel the air around her. It was cold and it made her shiver. She barely noticed that Havitwing was struggling to keep her straight face. But they said I needed to keep warm, Fluttershy chattered, terrified at how quickly a little breeze chilled her all the way to the bone. This was nothing like having a bad cold, not at all. Havitwing snapped her hoof against the ground and ignited a flame which she kept in hoof, letting Fluttershy watch it dance with surprise and awe. As she blew into it with a little and the heated air rushed through her breath, it made Fluttershy feel a deep warmth envelop her like a freshly dried wool blanket, as if bathing in fire itself without it burning her. She was fascinated by the sight itself. This pony could make fire? Rarity mentioned that their new friends possessed strange magic quite unlike anything they had ever seen before. But she didn't expect this. That better? Havitwing smiled, much too widely. Much better, yes. Fluttershy nodded. She tried to flex her wings a little again, and found that even though she could barely feel them, the sensation was very much there. The more she let the warmth surround her, the better they felt. It was nice. Good, you're recovering well then. Havitwing nodded, tucking Fluttershy back into the jacket. Oh man, this is harder than I thought, she muttered to herself. Fluttershy perked up her ears. What? Nothing. What? I didn't say anything. Right, well, you should be good to start walking again in a few days, I guess. Good for you. I'm sure your friends will be glad. Not that they wouldn't have to carry you... Not that they wouldn't have to carry you anymore, I mean... But that you're getting better. She muttered to herself again. Phew, caught that one. What? Nothing. You're hearing things. Havitwing flustered. I was just saying that you're making a good recovery is all. Easily the best I've ever seen. Yep. Oh, you know about that kind of stuff? First I peeped. Psh, yeah, totally expert here. I deal with those nasty monsters on a pretty regular basis. They're not monsters. First I frowned. They're animals. They're just different. Right, okay. Animals. Whatever you say. Havitwing shrugged. So I take it you really like animals then? That's what your friend said anyway. And you seem to fit the bill, what with being so, timid. I bet you're just a friend to all living things, or something sappy like that. Kind of useless talent out here, if you're actually as good as your friends say you are. Weird that you still got attacked though, yeah? I take it that stupid bug didn't respond to your charms? It was just a fluke. Fluttershy hesitated. She was beginning to doubt it more and more, every time it got brought up. Well, that should just go to show you that they're not animals. They are just monsters. I mean, think about it. If they were animals, they'd respond to you, right? I mean, all animals follow your beck and call, yeah? That's how your friends acted anyway. Too bad there aren't any other animals out here, except dead ones, really. Fluttershy frowned. Well, yes, I mean, sometimes there's a little hiccup, but... So you don't always have success then? Hey, listen, that's okay. I mean, we all make mistakes. It's how you react afterwards that makes the difference, yeah? Some parents like to yell. I know my boss, Starlight does. Oh boy, I tell you, you ain't never gotten an earful from any pony until you've heard old Starlight's shadow mad at you. Others just swear up a storm. Curacao might talk fancy and all, but when she gets mad, she embarrasses even me. I don't even know what half the words she says means. Then there's me, the toughest pony in all of Equestria. When I get mad, I like to hit things. Usually whatever's making me mad. So I tend to hit things a lot, if you follow me. How about you? What do you do when you're mad? Fluttershy thought a moment. Well, sometimes I get so upset that I could scream. It never really comes out as much, though. I don't have a very loud voice. But when you do it, doesn't it make you feel better? Haven't we offered? Fluttershy shook her head quickly. Oh, no. I don't like being mad at any pony. I'm worried I'll upset. All the better reason to let it out, Havitwing interrupted. If you let all that anger sit inside you, you risk going off at the wrong moment. I mean, you wouldn't want to get all upset at some little woodland creatures or whatever, just because you got a little upset, yeah? Fluttershy frowned, but Havitwing continued. You just gotta start slow like, with the easy stuff. She revved a hoof. If somebody tries to give you a hard time, then let them know you don't like it. You gotta show them you're not just gonna take it, you know? Like some sort of doormat or something. Fluttershy nodded, but was skeptical. It sounded awful familiar. Actually, you kind of have a point, she admitted. But I really don't want to hurt any pony or anything, for that matter. I don't have time. I don't have it in me. Besides, I've already kind of had assertiveness lessons. Lots of them. They never quite worked out right. Then you had a crappy instructor, Havitwing pointed out. Listen, out here, you can't afford to be a pushover. This ain't like back in the city or wherever it was you're going, because all you have to deal with there are ponies. Out here, being soft is what gets you killed, believe me. I've seen it too many times. That's what happened when you tried to be nice to that monster, yeah? Monster. There was that word again. It was disconcerting, no, infuriating to Fluttershy, that all her friends, even this new pony, all referred to these animals as monsters. They were just monsters that were doing what came naturally to them, right? Why did Why did they have to keep referring to them as monsters? Just because they attacked her? Monsters. I don't think they're really monsters. Fluttershy muttered more to herself than to Havocwing. They're just animals. They're predators, sure, but hunting is what predators do. TikTok is right. I just let my guard down around a predator, that's all. They're not monsters. Havocwing rolled her eyes. How many times have I heard that excuse? Listen, sweetheart. Those things aren't animals. They are just monsters. Brutal, killing monsters. I'm going to keep saying it until you believe me. Because really, I don't want to be the one to clean up the mess. Lesson 1. When you know you're right, don't give up the fight. Fluttershy inwardly groaned. Oh dear. She thought more rhymes to remember. They're animals, she asserted. I know I'm right, so... Believe what you want, Havocwing shrugged. I won't be the one to say I told you so when you try to get close to another one and it decides to rip you apart. Fluttershy made a protesting peep, causing Havocwing to smirk. That's what they do, you know. I've seen it. You've seen them try to do it to you, to your friends. Pony's trying to make it out of the city a gargantuan's favourite food, you know. Be assertive, Fluttershy thought. Defend your position. Well, like with any predator, if you just stay out of their hunting grounds. Ha! Good luck with that. You haven't got to the eastern wasteland yet. That whole region is gargantuan hunting territory. You can't go around it. Hell, why do you think so few ponies make it through here? I've done the run a bunch of times though. Toughest Pegasus this side of Pandemonium. Nothing scares me. And I've seen things that would make you reconsider that little, oh yeah, they're just sweet little animal thing, believe me. Fluttershy frowned. Oh, but even if they... I've seen ponies ripped to pieces. I've seen ponies stung just like you and too far from any sort of treatment that they just collapse and die to later be eaten but like a buffet. No regular animal kills their prey like that, you know. Animals eat different, and only monsters hunt for sport. Fluttershy made to protest again, but Havocwing continued. So you have to defend yourself. I hear you tried to tame the thing last time. Well, I'll just warn you now. You do that again and your friends are going to have to scoop you up with a spoon to take you home. Lesson 2. To avoid a sticky end, you've got to learn to defend. Fluttershy whimpered. Please, I don't want to hear any more. Havocwing waved a hoof. Hey look, I'm sorry you have to hear it. I'm just looking out, is all. Since my boss says I gotta try and be nicer, I've seen too many ponies die to those things because they got careless. Out here, you can't afford to get careless, or too compassionate, for that matter. Those things only respond to the one kind of action, violence. Lesson 3, if mutants bugs have got you down, you gotta crush them to the ground. Fluttershy squeaked, not at all liking where this was going. Oh, but I could never... You'll learn, trust me. Your friends didn't seem to have a problem with it, Havocwing pointed out. I hear they fought pretty hard even before your little accident. Smart ponies. A little slow on the uptake, though. They're lucky they were just fighting against a weak little one, or they'd have never gotten the chance. That's why they almost got killed after that, you know. They didn't go for the kill. You gotta use lethal force on them. At all times. Or they just keep coming. Those bugs are stupid, but they're not crazy. They won't keep attacking something they think is too big a threat. Lesson 4. To save your time so you're not late, don't just fight, intimidate. I don't think... And believe me when I tell you, they don't respond to much else. Besides, it's fun. Dumb things have a really short memory span. They forget what's a threat to them within a few hours. So, my group runs into them all the time. We don't skip around their territory and all that. I've got a little bet running with Velvet and Grayscale who can kill the most by the time we get to where we're headed. We do it every time we take a trip out here. Yeah, for this one I took the lead back between rescuing all of you and getting to the checkpoint. Oh man, that was a blast. Fluttershy was shocked. You keep track of killing them? Yep, great fun. How could you? Be assertive, Fluttershy thought. She narrowed her eyes. How could you? They're animals, living things. Whoa, relax. Havocwing chuckled. I told you, they're not animals, they're monsters. Besides, even if they were animals or some such, they're not like ponies or anything important. They're animals! They're just as important as any pony. Fluttershy was unable to not get upset. Ponies with bad attitudes she could deal with. Rudeness, easy to handle. But outright callousness, that was something she wasn't used to. Look, they're monsters. They should be destroyed. That's what you do with monsters. That's all they're good for. Target practice. They can't be reasoned with or tamed. They just kill, kill, kill. So why shouldn't we do the same to them? Lesson 5, if some pony just won't listen, it's time to teach that punk a lesson. Come on. Haven't you ever heard a real serious problem that couldn't have just been talked down? Now you just had to use force against? Fluttershy made to argue, but then came to some realization. 2 occasions had cropped up where she and her friends had been forced to be more than assertive. To be more than diplomatic. They were forced to resort to, well, force. Nightmare Moon had planned to reduce Equestria to a land of endless night, and there would be no reasoning with her and her desire for revenge against a world she felt had snubbed her. She had to break her power using the elements of harmony, because she would not give it up herself. Force. Against a monster. Then there was Discord, who threatened to throw all of Equestria into eternal chaos, and had actually nearly succeeded had it not been for the bonds of her friendship with the others. And when it came down to it, the only thing she responded to was using the elements of harmony to seal him away again. Force. Against a monster. Havocwing noticed Fluttershy's thoughtfulness, and continued, See what I mean? See what these monsters are like? You can't just try to tame them or that lovey-dovey junk. They only respond to force. If that's hard for you to do, well, I just hope your friends liked knowing you. Fluttershy shied away. If you don't mind, I'm feeling awfully tired. I'd like to go back to sleep. Sure, no prob. Hey though, it was nice talking to you, yeah? Don't let it get you down though, trust me. You'll feel better when you suck it up and realise I'm right. Lesson 6, I'm always right. Is there more than that one? Fluttershy peeped. Havocwing shrugged. No. Right, that was chapter 15. Oh, that was a long one. So, yeah, the plot thickens, really. Pretty much just the counterparts trying to work to their own ends, I suppose. But yeah, this is definitely getting more interesting, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one. So, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. And as always, keep on spreading the magic of friendship, and I'll see you next time.